This is Aunt Patty's Lavender Hour, episode 12 or 13. I usually put on my cowboy outfit for this, but I'm too tired today, and I'm also pissed off at the political situation in the world. So I decided to wear my Palestinian rights t-shirt for this episode. They say if you're doing country music, don't talk about politics. What that really means is don't say anything that a corporate Democrat or a moderate Republican would object to. Everything is about politics. So I needed to say that today because things are getting sharp and we need to talk about politics. Today we have Zach Bryson, country music extraordinaire. I'll tell you how I met Zach, and then we're going to get into it. I walked into a gig with a couple of friends in Portland. Supposedly, nobody in the gig in Portland even knew that I was going to be there. And I sat down and I heard Zach doing the most fabulous yodeling I'd ever heard in my life. Really top notch. The best. I'm not even kidding. I sat there all through his performance going, oh God, I'd just love to do a gig with him. I would die to do a gig with him. I wish I could do a gig with him. And Zach got through with his performance and he walked up to me and I'd never met him before in my life. And he said, aren't you Patrick from Lavender Country? And I said, yeah. And he said, how do I get to do a gig with you? Zach's participated in numerous actually, Lavender Country concerts, especially in the Northwest. And whenever he's present, I let him take over as band leader because he's a lot better at it than I am. So Zach, what do you have to say for yourself?
Well, first I'd like to say thank you to Jack Grelly, our mutual friend Jack Grelly, who brought you to the gig in Portland. And he texted me before that gig that night, and he said, I have a special guest who's going to be coming. And I said, who is it? He's like, I don't want to say yet. I was like, no, you got to tell me you brought it up. You can't tease me. And then he goes, he just wrote Lavender Country. That's all he wrote. And we had been talking about that record. I had found copies of it through just collecting records like I did, and I was blown away by it, and like everybody else, and thought it was incredible. And so yeah, when he had actually tracked you down and brought you to the gig, no less, and then brought you up on stage, and we just had a great night, and
it was a great night.
I was just over the moon to know that I could actually play gigs with Lavender Country. I mean, that's pretty crazy. I didn't even think that would ever be possible. So.
Well, darling, that's what I thought about you. So.
Wow.
Let's talk a little bit about your childhood to start. Where were you born?
I was born in Lebanon, Oregon.
Oh.
In a house, in the living room of a house in Lebanon, Oregon, and I was born, and then the next day, my mom woke up and I was completely blue, and I wasn't really breathing that well, and so we went into the hospital, and they life flew me in a helicopter to Dornbeckers up to OHSU in Portland, and I underwent open heart surgery at a day old, 2 days old. So.
Oh my God!
Yeah, it was an interesting way to come into the world. I don't remember much of it, but it's all there, And so yeah, after that it was 3 weeks in an incubator, couldn't be touched by anybody, and then eventually made it home. But
You were 3 weeks in an incubator and you couldn't be touched by anybody?
Yeah, through the, they have the incubator with the gloves, and you your hand in the gloves. It's because I had this, open wound. I was always very loved and all that stuff, but it was that first month that really influenced a lot of my, just I guess, issues.
It left its mark.
It left its mark very, very
on your psyche and your brain.
Nervous system, all that.
And it left a mark on your mother's.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Psyche and brain.
Yeah, it was. I had to. It took a lot of therapy for me to realize that point of view.
To realize your mother's point of view.
Well, I mean, then to realize I wasn't the only one who was affected.
Not good.
Not good at all. No, but at the same time, also kind of a miracle, because if I'd have been born 5 years earlier, they said they didn't have the technology to actually perform heart surgery on someone that young. So I would have absolutely died.
You would have died.
Yeah. So when I'm doing the yodeling and all this stuff, people are like, you were born in the wrong time. You should have been born back in the teens and 20s. No, sir.
No.
Not at all. I hit it right. I came online right at the perfect time.
It's a story about triumph over adversity.
Absolutely.
That's for sure.
There's a lot to be grateful for.
I feel bad for you, and I feel really bad for your mom.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, did you grow up in Lebanon?
No, we grew up in Eugene.
Is that where you went to high school?
Yep. Went to the Network Charter School in Eugene, Oregon, which was an alternative school where they sent the kids that couldn't conform to the regular high school.
Oh, was that you?
Oh, yeah. That was me, big time. Yeah.
Why couldn't you conform?
I think, again, this is from doing a lot of therapy. I think that I was very much mad at everything. And I didn't like being told what to do or hemmed in or anything like that, because I just was full of all this fear and this panic and all this stuff that was just ingrained in my nervous system and I didn't even know where it came from, but I could. And then, of course, inherited from, nobody gets into this world clean, like you inherit all this stuff from your parents, a temper, a depressive disorder, stuff like that just kind of comes with being a person. But on top of that, I also had this traumatic event. And so when it came to teachers trying to tell me what to do.
Well, how the hell did you turn into such a nice guy?
Well, I'll tell you,
what happened with that?
Well, that school really helped a lot, the Network Charter School that I went to, because it was a quote-unquote hippie school, I guess you'd call it. In other parts of the world, they would call it probably a hippie school. But it was just they just took a different approach, and they just, my plan was I got kicked out of, it was a mutual agreement between me and the fine folks at North Eugene High School that I should not go there anymore. And I didn't want to go there anymore, so I was more than happy to leave. So my plan was to turn 16, drop out, enroll in get a GED, enroll in a community college, get a degree, just fuck school, I'm going to start my own life. I'm just going to get going. And I got to the Network Charter School, and they were just like, hey, you don't have to be here if you don't want to be here, but as long as you're going to be here, what do you like? What do you like to do? And I would love music, and I loved art and all this stuff, so they were like, well, let's just do some of that. And then eventually after it was like, it was like getting to know a scared dog or something. Like after they they gained my trust, then they snuck math and science and all that garbage in their room. On me.
Sucker punch.
yeah, all that stuff I really hated. They really got me on. But I just loved going to school there. Every day I was just so happy to go to school, and it was just really.
So that made a real difference.
Yeah, it's where I learned how to play guitar. It's where I learned how to write songs. It's where I, found out who Kurt Vonnegut was. It's where I learned about any kind of socio-political stuff that I got involved with. It was just a great place to actually learn something instead of being taught, what they want to teach you, I guess.
You did something else in high school.
Yeah, I did.
That I know about. Go ahead and talk about it.
Well, I must have been sophomore year of high school or something like that. I'd been there for about a year. I had a health class, and in the health class we would kind of talk about all kinds of. It wasn't as straightforward as some of the more conventional health classes, I guess.
You talked about real issues.
We talked about real issues, and we we had found an article about a woman who had been sexually assaulted at a dance. It was a high school student like us who had been sexually assaulted at a dance by a group of people, and we spent the whole day talking about it, and it just really affected us so much. And then we started hearing about cases that were similar, closer to us, that weren't so far from home. And so we started this group eventually called Youth for the Education and Prevention of Sexual Assault, which was a group that we would go to conferences and give presentations. We would put on plays. We would put on all kinds of things just for younger people. We weren't like sex educators, but we would talk about what consent looked like. We would talk about what what it means to be transgendered, what it means to be all the spectrum of sexuality. We would try to talk about with younger people in more conservative areas.
You weren't sex educators, but you gave them a real sex education.
I guess you could say that. Yeah. We weren't getting into the technical side of what they were probably used to in health class, but we just tried to give some more information as best we could. And that group went on. I graduated, and that group went on for many years afterwards. Did a lot of good in the Eugene Springfield area and all around Oregon.
So you're involved in starting something really important. So you started doing music when you were like 14, or when?
Yeah, I mean, I was in punk bands for a long time.
Really?
Like around 13, 14, just yelling. I was angry a lot. I hadn't then traced it back to what had happened as a kid, but as a baby, but I was just angry all the time, and it was a great outlet to just yell into a microphone for at people, and it was great. But what it did mostly was it got me into writing lyrics, and I wrote a lot of poetry, and I would write lyrics and have to figure out what a melody is and all this stuff. So it really helped with that. And then the alternative school I went to offered a course that was called Music and Literature. And so we spent the first half of the class reading poetry, and then the second half of the class learning how to play guitar.
Oh, tripped out. I wish I'd have been there.
So it was basically, shout out to Jesse.
That would have helped me a lot when I was 14.
Yeah. Shout out to Jesse Lawton. He was the one who taught it, and he's a fantastic songwriter and musician, but it was basically a songwriting class. And so that was part of the grade. You had to write songs, you had to analyze songs, we would read books, and it was just, we'd listen to music, and it was just perfect. I don't think I'd be, doing what I do today, for better or worse, without that class, for sure.
That makes me full of envy. Because
Yeah,
I'm
I
going,
get that a lot.
God, I wish the hell
Yeah.
somebody would have introduced me to that when
Yeah.
I was 14.
Yeah.
Would have helped a lot.
I think so. I mean, I think it helped me a lot. It gave me a lot of confidence that it was something you could do.
Oh, I never laughed for vibrato, but it was
Yeah.
it was skill. It was
Yeah.
skill I needed. So, when did you flip into country?
Well, I grew up listening to a lot of country music. One of my first memories is being broken down on the side of the interstate and having my sisters freak out because George Strait's bus was going by on the highway. We were going up to Portland to see George Strait. They were. I was just along for the ride. I was probably 2 or 3. But I remember we had a flat tire and they freaked out because George Strait's tour bus went by.
Oh, the very concert they were going to.
Yeah, the very concert they were going to. I remember that very well, standing on the side of the road.
So that imprinted you.
Yeah, but that was in that area down in Lebanon and Albany and Lynn County, the pop country radio station all through the 90s and early 2000s, it was just, that was king. Like, that's what everybody listened to. And so I got a full dose of that, and then my grandparents, my grandfather and my aunts on my dad's side, they're all musicians.
Oh, really?
And so they had a gospel group growing up, and they made a record, and they... They were steeped in the old country music, all the really old stuff. So I had all the really old stuff and then the current stuff all through the 90s growing up into the early 2000s.
But you do a lot of old country.
Yeah, it's my favorite stuff. But I kind of came back to it after all the punk stuff had kind of worn out with me. All stuff I still like, but the lifestyle, I just wasn't as into it anymore. I was playing acoustic guitar more and stuff. And
you're not the first punker I've talked to that turned country.
Yeah.
So one of the things that you do is like yodel
Yeah.
your ass off, right?
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about how you learned how to do that. What did you do to learn how to yodel like that?
Lost a lot of friends. That was the main part. There was a guy named Brody Douglas Hunt, and he lived in Eugene. He grew up in Eugene, and he now lives in Asheville. And he would yodel. He was like the local guy that would do it. And I didn't know that people still did it. I just had heard it on records and stuff. And so I got friendly with him and he gave me some tips, and then I think he said don't do it in front of people until you can do it, which is something I didn't pay attention to at all. I just tried it whenever. In fact, I was at my grandfather's house, and I was trying it, and he was not afraid to be very blunt with me about the way it sounded.
Okay.
And he told me I really needed it. He encouraged me to keep practicing, because I thought I had it, you know.
Oh,
I thought I had it, and I was like, yeah, you know, all that. And he was like, you should keep doing it. You'll get it, but you need to you gotta keep doing it, but
you
maybe
haven't
not
arrived yet.
Yeah, maybe not in the middle of the day when I'm at home and stuff. So I just kept at it. I just loved it so much, and got so fascinated with it, and then eventually people stopped wincing when I did it, and they started smiling instead.
Oh, so that's how you knew you
That's
made it.
about how you know, yeah.
Do you remember when you first heard about Lavender Country?
When I first hear about Lavender Country, I think I found the record in a record store.
Oh, really?
I want to say, and I am always like a huge fan of anything in the Northwest. So anything that's recorded in the Northwest or has a history in the Northwest, I snatch it up.
Oh, okay.
I love it. Old gospel records, old like anything. And I think I had read something about it, or heard a track or two or something. There's some kind of thing where I saw it and I was like, oh, I know what that is. And then I saw the Seattle and I was like, I think it's hitting enough of my it's hitting my checklist enough that I need to take this home. And did, and it's, you know, you hear Crying These Cocksucking Tears and it's like you're in. You're either in or you're out at that point. So I was.
That's the one that sorts them, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think so. So I was in.
Did the record that you found in the store, was that the 73?
I think it was, it's the original.
It was, what?
Yeah.
Do you have it?
I think it's around. I might have given it to Joy as a gift. So I think Joy has it.
Huh.
But I know how much she loved it, so I believe I gave it to her for her birthday one year.
Oh, well, that was a nice gift.
Yeah. I think it was after I met you, so I knew I could get another one. I think I gave her that one and I took the signed copy for myself.
Well, the 73, the authentic, real 73, they're hard to come by.
Yeah.
I ran into somebody in Vancouver who had an original. We were doing a gig and selling the
Oh yeah, the new ones.
selling the new one, which is, looks like the old
Oh yeah,
one.
absolutely.
She walked up and said, "Will you sign my album?" And I thought it was
Yeah.
I got halfway through and I went,
Yeah.
"Whoa,
Yeah.
this is a real deal, Lavender Country."
Yeah.
She said, "Yeah, I know."
Yeah.
So how many Lavender Country shows have you done?
I don't know. How many have we done? Not
A dozen?
At least. I would say at least a dozen.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a time we were doing them pretty frequently.
Yeah.
We hit it pretty hard for a little while there.
We were hitting it pretty hard for
Yeah.
a little while. So what are you doing now?
Well, so I was living in Portland for 7 years. That's how we met each other. Before that, I had lived in New Orleans for a little while, and played music there for a while. Was there for about a year, and then moved back. And the plan was always to move back there, but it took about 8 years or so before I could do that. So this past September, I moved back to New Orleans, and I've just been playing music down there, and just primarily I just write songs and put them out myself, and Yeah, and I'm actually up here in the Northwest recording right now, and that's it's about the long and the short of it. Just playing music and staying safe.
So you're going to sing us a couple of songs, are you?
I guess so. Yeah. Anything you want to hear in particular?
Are you going to yodel?
I imagine you probably want to hear.
Yeah.
Okay.
Take it.
Well, I'm going where the water tastes like cherry wine. Yeah, I'm going where the water tastes like cherry wine. 'Cause this water I'm drinking, why, it tastes like turpentine. If you don't want me, mama, why, you sure don't have to stall. If you don't want me, mama, why, you sure don't have to stall. You told me that you love me, but you know that wasn't all. So I'm going where the water tastes like cherry wine. Yes, I'm going where the water tastes like cherry wine. And the water I've been drinking, why, it tastes like turpentine. Is that good enough for you?
Ta-da!
Yeah, beautiful.
I hope that was all right.
Yeah.
So, I guess in the process of discovering, who I was, or who I am, or, for better or worse, who I am, you kind of have to discover who you come from and who the people you come from are and stuff like that. So that's what this song is about. Lately I have wondered, what's the measure of a man? Is it the muscles in his arm, or the callus on his hand? Is it love deep in his heart he gives when he can? Is it the way he acts in the face of things he doesn't understand? I think of my father, of his faults and his feats, his quick and careless temper he passed down to me, and of my mother's trembling hands and her hungry eyes. It's getting harder to separate all their flaws from mine. And you can pretend that you don't see it, you can say you don't believe it, or you can keep it all buried down deep inside. The things you can't erase, someday you'll have to face or become. All the things you try and hide. And my father's father and the ones before him, all tasked with the burden turning children into men. But who's to rate the effort? Who can judge the sin? Who's to say it'd turn out better if they had it to do again? You can pretend that you don't see it, you can say you don't believe it, or you can keep it all buried down deep inside. But the things you can't erase, someday you'll have to face or become. All the things you try and hide or become. become all the things you try and hide.